I passed out from my engineering in 2010 from one of the most premier institutions in the southern part of India. And post my engineering, I came to the US because I had a job offer from Google. But on the day of joining Google, I happened to say no to them and ended up joining a startup, which according to my parents was the worst decision of my life. I still remember that one phone call that night from my dad. You know, it was midnight in Chicago and morning in India, and my dad was like, "Who says no to Google?" I'm like, oh my God, this man's not gonna stop now. It's like, are you stupid? Your life is over. Do you even know what you've done? At 22, you've taken the worst decision of your life, while all of your friends are gonna have their own cars and houses and, you know, fancy lifestyle. They're gonna travel the world. You're gonna rot in that stupid startup of yours. Like, what does a startup even mean? My dad was unstoppable that night. I was like, Dad, maybe I'm the worst investment of your life, but trust me, I have no problems in doing what I'm doing. This is my life, so please let me be. With all due respect, even if I make a mistake, it's fine. I will cherish this mistake because I'm making this myself and I'm not doing it under anyone's pressure. So yeah, that was that. And I ended up joining this startup. I was one of the early employees in this company and ended up growing that company from zero to a couple of $100 million in ARR in the next few years. For the unversed, ARR basically means annual recurring revenue, just a fancy term that these techies use. And then one fine day, I had this epiphany that I was just helping the rich get richer, wasn't adding too much value to my own life. So I decided to quit, and that was that. And then there was no looking back. Went back to India to start my own entrepreneurial journey. My first company, which was in the media space, wanted to build a Netflix-like platform, but for Indian vernacular languages. I'm a huge movie buff. Ask me about any movie out there, and you know, I'll have a story to share about that. I've seen a bunch of content, bunch of movies, and I've always known good quality content is king. So I wanted to do the same thing, but for Indian vernacular languages. Now, FYI, India has a bunch of languages, 34 officially recognized languages as per the Indian Constitution, but with the spin-offs, there are like 1,000+ languages, even I don't know. But I know like 9 of them, so I thought, how difficult can this be? Let's do it. So build that company from scratch, bootstrapped it with over 5 million+ views on our YouTube channel, and 300,000+ subscribers back in the day. You know, we were also doing YouTube, Vimeo, and in 2018, after 4 years of bootstrapping that company, ended up selling that to a Bombay-based production house, had an 8-figure exit, and that was a little tick mark in my career that yes, I too can build and sell companies. 2019, collaborated with my school friend who I've known for a very long time. He's a tech genius, and we decided to build our next company, which was Emotion AI for product reviews. And little did I know that this company was going to change my life forever because of the kind of things that I learned. You know, when I started my first company, the term startup was still very new. It was coined, yes, but it was still very new. People didn't really know about startups as such. They didn't know that, okay, you could invest in, you know, I mean, angel funding, VC funding was still very naive at that time. We needed to raise funds because this was a proper tech company and we were building things from scratch. We were gonna build, you know, our own algorithms, our own models for emotion detection, for product reviews, for content generation. Guys, I'm talking about the times when ChatGPT didn't exist. So we understood that we needed a lot of talent, competitive, great talent. So we needed money. So a friend of mine was like, hey, why don't you apply to Y Combinator? Y Combinator was obviously there. Again, for the unversed, Y Combinator or YC is one of the world's best acceleration programs. Back in the day, they would give you about $150,000 for around 7-8% equity in your company, which I think now is about $500,000 for a certain percentage of equity. But someone who's just had an 8-figure exit, I was like, why should I shell out so much equity for just $150,000 back in the day, right? But a bunch of my friends were like, listen, your market is America, it's not India anymore. For any hardcore tech company to get the credence that it needs, you gotta be in the US. YC can really get you there, and this is what you need to do. So I was like, okay, let me take all the advice, all the noise that people have to give. I took the next flight, flew to San Jose. I was staying at a friend's place. You know how we startup founders are. We want to save as much money as possible. So he used to live in Sunnyvale, works at eBay. It's like, okay, I want to go and see what is it that we can do. Now, of course, I am this person who has a lot of ideas that I want to implement and try out new things. So I thought of doing something. The next morning, I went to a merchandising store where I got a white t-shirt, and I asked them to print something at the back of the t-shirt. They were like, okay, cool. It took about 30 minutes, it was done. Now, this is what I printed on the back of the t-shirt. I said no to YC. Come and ask me why. The very next day, I went to this Starbucks at Menlo Park. Apparently, that is where all the exciting angel investors who've entrepreneur turned investors who've made a shit ton of money, they just walk in and they have their conversations about what's the next big thing, where should they invest, blah, blah, blah. I was like, okay, let's see what happens. So 2019, pre-COVID. So I was sitting at this Starbucks, with my Frappuccino, and I was sitting at a corner. I want to make sure that I did not really block people. Now, I was wearing a white t-shirt with my hair tied up, shorts and red colored sneakers, and with this thing printed on my back. I said no to YC. So YC was in red, and then the rest was in black. That come and ask me why. And so, I was facing with my back facing people. I was working at this corner, pretending to work with these, massive Bose Studios on my ears. To be very honest with you, I was watching the latest season of Game of Thrones. But on my tab, I had one screen, which was a black screen, of me having copy-pasted some code, which I got from my co-founder. Basically trying to act as cool as possible, yeah? And there was a mirror right in front of me, so I could see anyone who was coming towards me. It was all planned, right? So 15 minutes, nobody walks up to me. 25 minutes, nobody walks up to me. 45 minutes, nobody walks up to me. And I'm still watching Jon Snow making love. And I'm like, okay, what is happening? I did not come here to watch Game of Thrones. I was here for a reason. But finally, after 50 minutes of waiting there, in the 51st minute, an individual walks up to me. This man wearing a hoodie and probably drinking his cappuccino or whatever. And he's like, excuse me. And I knew that he was coming. There was a mirror right in front of me. But I was playing pretense. Like, oh, okay. I didn't see him coming to me. So I was like, I'm so sorry. Excuse me. Hi. Yeah. He's like, you know what? I'm really intrigued. Why did you say no to YC? Like, no one says no to YC. Why would you do that? I was like, I'm sorry, what? As if I didn't know what I was wearing. Oh, that. Oh, okay. I had an 8-figure exit in my last company. I didn't really think that I would do justice by shelling out 8-9% of equity for just $150,000. Do you want to take a seat? Let's have a chat. He's like, yeah, sure. Tell me everything about what you guys do. I'd love to know. And then suddenly I'm like, oops, you know what? I have to go for a meeting in some time. Is it possible that we schedule another day? Playing hard to get, right? So he's like, yeah, okay, here's my card. I am Mr. So-and-so. And why don't you set up a meeting with my company? Let's catch up next week. Let me check my calendar. But yes, I'll surely call your team and I'd love to schedule something with you guys. Okay, first card. And in the next 2 hours, I got 17 more cards like this. It's like, oh my goodness, this shit works. Menlo Park is the place to be, at least it was. And that Starbucks and the crazy things that they did. I'm so glad I never applied to YC. I said no to YC in my head. That is basically what it meant. I never applied to them, which basically means saying no to them, right? But guess what? In the next 3 months, we ended up raising $1 million thanks to those 17 cards that I'd got. So what did this thing teach me? This taught me that play hard to get, yes. And it's not about marketing, it's about playing it smart. Don't just work hard. Do things in a way that people are automatically drawn towards you, so that they know that, yes, this is the person we want to invest in. And years later, I actually went up to those investors and told them this, and I'm sure when they listen to my keynote, they'll be like, oh my God, okay, this is what you did to get money out of us, but whatever it takes, right? So thinking on your feet, doing things spontaneously, improvising and getting people to invest in you, that is what I learned from this. Post that, yes, of course, we've had a lot of trouble raising funding thanks to COVID, and eventually we did end up raising $10 million for this company. We also got a $200 million commitment from the largest investor in New York, where I still live, for us to go IPO. And then eventually I ended up taking an exit from this company to do some bigger things in life. But the biggest lesson that, my entrepreneurial journey so far has taught me is that, it's important to think on your feet. It's important to do some crazy things. But at the same time, stay grounded, stay humble, and never give up. So innovation is something that obviously follows this journey. It's an important part of this journey, but my entire startup career so far has taught me a lot, and I'm really glad that I could be standing here and addressing you all.